Hey Whitman Post artists, today you're going to be starting your own Wayne Thiebaud cake. I do have a couple handouts you can look at in your Google Classroom page, which shows you some different cakes and some different toppings and things like that. I'll be showing you step-by-step how to draw the cake, so this one's a little bit different than how I'm going to be showing you. We're going to keep our cake more cut to the front. This is another option for you. Now your cake has to have at least 3 layers. You could have it a single cake, or you can have it a stacked cake on a stand. So to get started, you're going to need 9 by 12 paper, or use what you have. I'm just going to use stiffer paper because I'm using some watercolor on it. You don't want to use really thin paper. You want a pencil and a Sharpie for later, and you want to have a ruler that kind of helps with a few things. All right, so let's get started. So the first thing you're going to do is to make the top part of your cake. Now, since we're seeing our cake instead of directly over the top, we're going to see it more of an angle. So we're going to be drawing an ellipse. An ellipse is like a flattened circle. So I'm just going to kind of start to make almost like an oval shape. It's a little bit skinnier at the edges. And it can be a little bit tricky getting the edges exactly the same, but you just want to have that elliptical shape to it. All right, you want to also draw lightly, so I will darken up my lines later. Now we're going to make the sides of our cake. I'm just going to take my ruler and start on the very edge and bring the sides down. Do the same thing on this side. Now if you don't have a ruler, you can always use a book or anything that you have that might give you a straight edge. Okay, then I'm going to make another line coming down on this side. Now the bottom of my cake, you're going to want to round off. I went down a little bit far with my lines, but that's okay. So I'm going to curve it and bring it back up. And it should be about the same height. Some I think might be a little bit. So I'm going to draw lightly. All right, so we have our cake, main part of our cake done. We pretty much drew a cylinder shape. We have our ellipse on the top, and we have our curve on the bottom. I think I might refine this a little bit too. So the next step, you're going to be making a cut for your cake. Now you want to find the center of your cake roughly. So I'm guessing the center is going to be about here. And I'm going to come up more towards the middle as well over here. So here's about my middle. Now we're going to make a slice on here. So I'm going to make a diagonal line going out to the edge. You can decide how far out your cake goes. My other line, I'm going to have it coming over this direction. So it's going to be like a wide open V. It's a pretty big cut. Now if you look at the example here, they made the line a little bit further inwards to kind of give a different angle. I'm making mine a little bit further out that way. So it looks more like that. All right, the next step, we're going to make 3 vertical lines. So I'm going to start on the edge here, make one line come down, but remember to keep these light. 2, and then 3. All right, now if we look at our angle of our line here, we're going to make a parallel line. Remember, parallel lines go the same direction. So I'm just going to line up my edge of my ruler with that angled line, and then bring it right down. Try not to turn your ruler. So it'll come up that way. And the same thing on this side. Line up. Try not to do any turns, so keep it straight. And it comes about to here. So you should have 2 lines that are about the same direction or parallel. I'm going to take my eraser and get rid of part of my ellipse, because now I have a chunk out of my cake, and same thing down here, so a piece of my cake missing. All right, so we have the main part of our cake done. So we're going to add some layers of icing. So we're going to make some parallel lines. Now if you want to use your ruler again to give yourself a rough angle, I'm gonna leave a little bit of space depending on how much frosting you want in between your cake. So I got 2 pairs here. And just try to keep them angled Now, if you wanted to make your frosting a little bit more wiggly, it doesn't have to be a perfectly straight line, because if it's inside the cake, it's not going to be perfectly straight. So it's going to kind of wiggle it up. But you can always do that when you Sharpie and just erase your pencil lines. Now, this side of your cake, you're going to pretty much go the same way, except it's going to go the opposite direction. So if you wanted to wiggle those in there, and if you don't use a ruler, you see it's not going to be probably very accurate, so I just want to make sure that you use a ruler. At least get your lines lightly drawn in, and then you can come back. All right, now after you have your cake lines drawn, you can start to add some decorations to it. Now you might have frosting kind of billowing up over the top. You could have frosting running down the edges. How you decorate your cake is up to you. I'm going to add a little bit of frosting that's overlapping my edge of my cake. So that ellipse line that we drew in the very beginning is going to pretty much be covered up. So I'm just kind of drawing in. I can come back later and add a few more details. It's kind of getting the right, but you can keep your edges of your cake smooth. They don't have to be. All right, so I have some frosting here. Maybe even want to put a candle on your cake. So again, when we're gonna make a smaller cylinder, our candle is gonna go into the cake. So I'm making like a little U. And then I'll make 2 vertical lines coming up. And I'm gonna have my candle lit, although you probably shouldn't have your candle lit if you already have taken a chunk out of it. All right, and then it's overlapping, so I'm going to erase that. I'll make another candle over here. Might be some wax running down. I'm not pulling out this candle fast enough, but not so long that there's actually wax running down. Gotta blow it up before you take your piece. And I'll make a vertical line. This candle's burned down a little bit more. Probably was recycled. Again, this one's kind of got blobs of wax coming down. And again, you're not going to see through the candles, so I had to make sure I erase anything that's overlapping. All right, I can come back later and add more to that. So then you can add more decorations, whether you have, you know, frosting on the edges here. You could add designs coming along the cake. You can decide how you want to decorate it. And I'm not really sure, I'm just kind of going a little bit at a time and just seeing what looks good. So you can put different designs or patterns. I'm going to curve this up a little bit more, look like it's wrapping around the edge. So it curves around. It's going to kind of change angles. You could also put a plate underneath or a horizon line in the background so your cake isn't floating. So for my plate, I'm just making another ellipse. And a little bit more of the edge of the plate coming around here. bit skinnier as it comes around the back edge. It's getting further away. Now if you wanted to add whipped cream or different toppings, you can do that. And you could have it layered, or you could have it kind of piped on. Looks like a clove of garlic. Maybe I'll make it curve over a little bit to get that little floop. I'll put one a little further back. Remember, anytime you put like real whipped cream, it's not going to look exactly like a particular shape. It's going to kind of blob out and melt. So don't get too caught up on a particular shape. I'm just going to make a curved line and bring it up more towards the top. And if you're at home, maybe you could have your mom make a real cake so you can look at it, tell her it's for art class. Really, Mom, I need a 3-layer cake I need to draw. I'll put another one over here. So it's good to work from a real life object. So it's important to draw lightly so you can easily make any changes to your design without it. I'll throw another one in here like that. And this piece must be gone with the little frosting that was there. And then maybe I'll put, maybe there was some frosting that was. Now real quickly, if you're going to make a multi-level cake, you want to make sure you make your cake a little bit smaller. So I'm going to make my top cake so vertical lines and round off the bottom. The next cake is going to be coming around underneath, vertical lines, round it off. I could put another cake on the top, or I can just put another larger cake underneath here, vertical lines. Then I have maybe a platter that's holding up my cake. So I'm still pretty well zoomed in. And I could put my slice in, but you can't see the middle of that cake. So if I had a cut, it would come down like so. All right, so the next step after you have your cake drawn and all its decorations, you can go ahead and start to Sharpie it. I'm gonna go ahead and put this into time lapse, and then you can watch the second part of how to add color.